Welcome back, and in this video we're going to be dealing with the Voyage by Bhupen Hazarika. He is known as Assam's foremost modern musician. There are a lot of photos of this legendary singer, but I chose this because he's wearing an Angami Naga shawl, duh. He had written an autobiography titled Moi Eti Jajabor, and this lesson, The Voyage, is an excerpt from that autobiography. Bhupen Hazarika narrates that he was getting ready to go to America because he received a scholarship, and Robert Brown, a pastor in Guwahati, helped him to prepare his curriculum. Hazarika told Robert Brown that he was not going to America to search for content, but to learn the form, a new form, because according to him, content was readily available in Assam as well. Gopinath Bartoloi, the then chief minister of Assam, had a tiger-like personality, a fearful personality, but he helped him a lot in obtaining this scholarship. Before moving out for the voyage, he went to take the blessings of Jyoti Kokaidu, who had been a great inspiration to Hazarika. It was September 1949. His main intention was to explore the different places along the way to America. So the route or the path that he took was quite different from what other people would choose. Firstly, he decided to take a Dakota plane to travel from Guwahati to Damdam. Damdam, that is in Kolkata. And that would cost him rupees 55. Then another flight from Damdam, Calcutta to Visakhapatnam. And from Visakhapatnam, he would take another plane to Colombo, Sri Lanka. And from Sri Lanka, he would board the ship SM Samponio and travel by sea for about 13 days before reaching Marseille in France. Then he would travel to Paris by train and watch France, the landscape, the people through his railway coach. As the voyage began, when he went to Kanhikuchi airport of Guwahati, the people who went to see him off were his mother, his father, Queen Sudakshina Sarma, wife of Dilip Sarma, little Mahi, who also gave him a fresh flower, Jayanta Hazarika, his younger brother, Syed Abdul Malik, who was a friend from All India Radio. They were colleagues in All India Radio, and also Saila Barua. So all in all, 7 people went to drop him off at Guwahati Airport, Kanhikuchi Airport. But from Kanhikuchi Airport, when he boarded the plane, the Dakota plane, and the wheels of the plane started to roll, Bhupen Hazarika shouted at the top of his voice, saying that he had left his valuable items, valuable documents behind. But remember that this is a Dakota plane. It carries only 30 to 32 passengers. Also, Hazarika was already very famous during those days, already a celebrity. And also, he had composed a song to celebrate the victorious March of Science on the inauguration of this particular airport, on the request of the governor, Sir Akbar Haidari. So they stopped the plane, and his friend Malik came running with his bag. And finally, the journey continued, and they reached Damdam Airport, Kolkata, in no time. When he reached Calcutta, his friend Bhupen Das welcomed him. The friend who welcomed him in Calcutta Damdam Airport was Bhupen Das, and this Bhupen Das was Hazarika's friend from Cotton College. And he was here in Kolkata or Calcutta to learn the craft of filmmaking by working under Kalyan Gupta as his assistant director. While he moved out of Guwahati, he did not feel any sense of going away. But now, when he had to leave Calcutta for Visakhapatnam, he felt a sense of departing from his dear home Assam and eastern India. And when he left Visakhapatnam for Colombo on 11 September 1949, he had a strange feeling of leaving his own nation, India. He's going abroad for the first time in his life, so different thoughts came rushing into his mind. As he boarded the plane to go to Colombo, Sri Lanka, he wondered if he would ever be able to come to India again or Assam. During those days, many people left their homes for America and never returned back. This is why many rich people would marry off their sons before sending them to America so that they would come back. Whereas the poor section of people who could not afford marriage would think of going to America and getting a good job, and then think about marriage later. This was how the problem of brain drain occurred. Brain drain means the immigration of educated, qualified people to another country in search of opportunities, better opportunities. As he was thinking about all this, he looked outside his window. He saw the peninsular tip of Kanyakumari, the bottommost part of India. And a realization came to him that he was really living India, and that now he was not just a young man from Assam or Bengal, but he was student from India going abroad for further studies. The flower in his pocket, that little mahi gave him, was withering, drying out, and he started thinking about home and how this flower came from a garden in Assam. The air hostess brought in some journals and magazines or newspaper for him to read, and amongst the collection, the Times, the Illustrated London News, the Statesman, he was surprised to see that Assam Tribune was also there. Later on reaching New York, America, he wrote a letter to the editor of Assam Tribune, Mr. Bhupen, informing him about his pleasant surprise of seeing the Assam Tribune on the plane to Sri Lanka. Through his window, he could see the Indian Ocean, and as he kept looking, he finally saw Colombo, Sri Lanka. He could see a number of coconut trees and leaves. The narrator compares the sight of Sri Lanka to be similar to a beautiful young lady soaking up the sun after bathing in Indian Ocean and spreading her hair freely. He describes Colombo as an Anglo-Ceylonese maiden when he reached Sri Lanka. Anglo means English ethnicity, and Ceylon is the old name of Sri Lanka. This means that Sri Lanka or Colombo was very much influenced by the English impact or Western culture, especially in music and clothing. English and Hindi songs were played in the streets. Rich Parsi merchants from Bombay sold clothes and watches of American origin. He could also hear South Indians working there as porters and talking to each other in Tamil. He saw Indonesian, Burmese, Filipinos, and Indo-Chinese merchants. He also saw a very drunk French sailor who came to Colombo for a couple of days. After being at the sea for a long period of time, he was singing to himself in a language that the narrator could not understand. He found that there are many foreigners in Colombo. Then he started humming an Assamese tune. I'm afraid I may not get the pronunciation right, so let's refer here. The narrator was surprised at how this song popped up in his mind. He thought maybe because he was in Sri Lanka and remembered how Hanuman came to rescue Sita, wife of Ram, in Lanka when she was kidnapped by Ravan. Or maybe he missed his grandmother's dish of kalmo sag. I don't know what this kalmo sag is. So I looked into a YouTube video, and it looks like it would be very tasty. I've never tasted. I don't know this veg, but it looks very tasty. Now he reaches the city of Kandy, the very famous city of Kandy, which is a sacred place for the Buddhist, and also the home to the temple of the tooth relic. A tooth of the Buddha is said to be preserved and kept in this temple. The narrator saw the Buddhist environment, and he could hear the chanting Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Looking at all this, he says that it is very similar to what he saw in Sarnath and Bodh Gaya in India. So he found that there are many similarities between India and Sri Lanka. Next, he went to see the household of a normal Sri Lankan family. There in the living room, he saw a piano and a statue of Madonna placed on top of the piano. Madonna is Mother Mary, so he visited a Catholic home. The children sang in English. The narrator felt a little bit disappointed because he wanted to see the real Sri Lankan family and not a home purely influenced by the Western world. It was not very different from Shillong. Luckily, his friend from Ceylon Radio showed him an indigenous Sri Lankan dance performance, Yakuma Natum, which is a demon dance to ward off evil spirit and sickness. This dance was also very much similar to the Deodhani Nritya dance of Kamrupa, Assam. The superstitious practices were also very similar in India and Sri Lanka. There would be rituals for rain, and the priest who performed this ritual would have number of rings on his thumb, right thumb, the mudra, which means the mark or sign. The mudra centered on the thumb was especially important, and all eyes were on that point throughout the ritual. The rule or saying in Natya Sastra of India was followed in Sri Lanka. Natya Sastra is science of performing arts like drama, dance, enacting. And the rule or the saying is that the hand is followed by the eyes, and the eyes is followed by the brain or mind, and from the mind feelings evolve, and from these feelings flows rasa or art. The dancers danced with bamboo sticks, and most of their dances were similar to Indian dances, like the Garba of Gujarat and Ras of Manipur. The narrator saw that many similarities were there between India and Sri Lanka, and so he asked the professor, why is there a lack of trust and unity between Indians and Sri Lankans, though they have so much similarities? He gave two reasons. Firstly, the Lankans were worried about India's economic exploitation. And secondly, the Lankan government sees the progressive attitude of the Indian laborers and is worried for its people. But in spite of all this, the South Indians and the Lankans participate together in Yakuma Natum. They are united by culture, like two rivers crossing continents to meet in the sea. He was supposed to stay in Sri Lanka for 2 days, but his ship got delayed for another day and a half. And when he finally got on the ship SM Samponio to travel for 13 days to France, he found that very few people spoke English. Most of the travelers were from Indochina and wore long dresses and looked like people from Manipur or a home village in Assam. He found a Frenchman who spoke English, and his name was Andre, and he was returning home after serving as a soldier since the age of 17, and now he was about 23 or 24. The ship SM Samponio stopped at a port of Aden. He got down from the ship and bought a Rolleiflex camera for rupees 300. The ship also stopped at Alexandria and at Djibouti. They rested at Djibouti for a few hours, so he went to explore the Djibouti city. And he found that the Italians exploited the land but brought no development. It was full of wine shops and women roamed around in burqas. People there were poor. Next, they stopped at Cairo, Egypt. But they did not delay for long, so he could not go to see the pyramids or see Cleopatra's hair clip. Cairo was much like Bombay, according to him. Very noisy and people spitting everywhere. Then he heard the latest news that Mao Zedong's long march had succeeded and now China was free. Hearing this, he also thought about himself that one day he too would complete his long march. But until that day, he would Charaiveti. Charaiveti is a Sanskrit word which means keep moving on, moving forward. So until he finishes his long walk, until he finishes his long march, he would keep moving forward. As the ship was about to enter the Red Sea, at 2 o'clock in the night, the ship's alarm bell rang. Everyone gathered on the deck, wondering why the ship had halted. Then the captain announced that from the exact same spot, once in a long while, the star above the holy crescent moon of the Muslims can be seen. He also said that though they had sailed through the same route for a number of times, they had only seen it once or twice. The narrator took some pictures of the divine sight with his new camera and whispered a prayer in his heart. He also heard a soft voice in his heart saying that this was a blessing, that he would travel to different parts of the world, and the fatigue of going on journeys would turn into joy of exploring new places for him. It is said that even many Muslims do not get the chance to see this rare sight. As for Bhupen Hazarika, he did not particularly belong to or favor any kind of caste or community. His only identity is that he is a human being, and he believed in God, but not in any single religion. So God blessed him with this amazing sight. But that was not all. He saw another breathtaking sight, the sight of thousands of phosphorus fishes lighting up the sea. With that, the excerpt ends. So all in all, the voyage is about Bhupen Hazarika's exciting adventure from Assam to America in September 1949. Thank you for suggesting this video. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.